Insomniac Spider-Man games are pretty good. They're probably some of the most well-polished and crafted and cinematically experienced superhero games out there. And I think that the first Spider-Man game should have won Game of the Year instead of what actually won, because Spider-Man was, unlike all the other games, pretty fun to play. Except for Sekiro. Sekiro's pretty good. But let me not get sidetracked. I'm not here to glaze Insomniac games, but I'm here to give my own take about how I feel about them. Now, there has been 3 games. Lately, my feelings about these games have shifted from really positive to confused. I think that the first game is a fantastic superhero experience. It had a great story, solid combat, solid boss fights, and a really good ending that showed the core themes of Spider-Man, and really good DLC. The Miles game was really fun gameplay wise, and the web swinging felt more fluid in this one, but the story and characters lacked quite a bit, especially the main villain. The sequel to the first game was honestly more of the same, but less. Had worse writing, didn't have a real antagonist, and less content, like no DLC. With this franchise being roughly 7 years old, my thoughts on its identity and specialness within all of the other Spider-Man games have changed quite a lot. Now, I'm not saying these games are mid, but I do have some strong feelings. To me, every Spider-Man game was a different experience. Every game tried something new and played completely different from the others. The PS1 Spider-Man game felt like playing a day in the life of Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2 was groundbreaking and was the first true open-world superhero game, and has web swinging that is still not matched to this day. Ultimate Spider-Man was like playing a comic book. The art style and presentation was phenomenal, and it actually let you play as Venom. Crazy how a PS2 game lets you play as one of the main villains, but a $70 PS5 game won't. Huh. Spider-Man 3 kind of sucked, but Web of Shadows has the best combat and traversal of any Spider-Man game. Shattered Dimensions was the second Spider-Man product to introduce a multiverse, but was the largest influence for Spider-Verse. Edge of Time was kind of an okay game at best, but the dialogue and writing and pacing and plot was just so good that it's probably up there in my top 5 Spider-Man games. And the Amazing Spider-Man games were just, they were kind of buns. I'm not gonna lie. Now, what was that mini glaze session about these 20-year-old games that nobody plays anymore? Well, all these games were really drastically different from one another. They were all a unique experience, and they barely played the same. With Insomniac Spider-Man games, they lacked that feeling of uniqueness. I love Spider-Man 4. I will say that it really only takes the good things about all these games and slightly dumbs them down, and puts them into one package. This isn't necessarily a bad practice. If something already works, then why not use it? It worked out for Insomniac because they sold 8 million copies. I even pre-ordered it, and I was really eager to play it, and I loved it. But now that I'm older, I start to feel the sense of fatigue that I get from modern day Sony AAA titles. I apologize that I use that term AAA, and if you're wondering, no, I do not receive a W-2. The modern AAA Last of Us 2 disease that has unfortunately tapped its way into Spider-Man games is more apparent to me than ever. I cannot tell you a unique quality that these games possesses over all the other Spider-Man games. This feeling of dread really bleeds into the sequel to the PS4 game, Spider-Man 2, which is the third Spider-Man 2 ever made. I thought that adding the black suit to the game would open up a world of options when it came to combat, story, and character interaction. But no, you get like 3 or 4 new moves, and the arc with the black suit, it like genuinely lasts like 4 missions. And it's just a worse version of Web of Shadows. Not to mention the fact that there's no true villain in this game, and the dialogue is also kind of buns. Like seriously, can we get 80-year-old senile men to stop writing Miles Morales? His dialogue is almost as bad as that. It's like that one Thor what if. The people behind these games are clearly passionate about the character of Spider-Man, but they don't really understand Spider-Man games all that much. Every developer that has touched a Spider-Man game attempted to innovate. They made the games different. Like compare Web of Shadows combat systems to Spider-Man 2's combat system. Web of Shadows allowed the player to go insane. It had a new system of web strikes that was never seen before and let the player experiment with all sorts of combos. Introduced wall combat. You can instantly switch back to the black suit and mix up your combos. Not to mention, the black suit actually felt and played differently than the normal red and blue suit. Spider-Man 2's combat is fine, but it feels safe. It feels like the first game. There was no difference. And also, you cannot instantly switch between the black suit to the normal red and blue suit, even though we are on an SSD PS5. It is insane to me that the fact that this PS3 game has done more and innovated more than this new PS5 game. Let's also use the web swing as an example. Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2 has the best web swing system out of all the Spider-Man games because it uses a pendulum physics-based system. And this web swing is really, really fun because there's a learning curve that comes with it. When you get good at this system, you feel accomplished. The movement becomes so much more fluid and fast, and everything is up to you. You have so much freedom with this. Compared to Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5's web swing system, that web swing system is very lifeless. It looks cool, but it is automatic. There's not much interaction to be had with it. And all the stuff is just really at a press of a button. You don't really have to do anything aside from just holding the R2 button. And I also know that you can turn down the web swing assistance to 0, but this doesn't really make it a physics-based system like Spider-Man 2. It's more just makes you a magnet to every single wall in the entire game. which isn't very fun. And with the way the story plays out in all these games, while I enjoyed the first one quite a lot, every game after that just follows the same type of story beats. Every villain has to have a personal connection with Peter Parker for some odd reason, and can't just be another person who has a different worldview from Peter Parker, like his most famous villain ever created. But aside from that, there's always some big MacGuffin that somehow turns NYC into like Gotham City, and this happens in every single game. Now, you could also say that the Sam Raimi movies, which are, in my opinion, the best superhero movies ever made, follow the same story beat for in every movie, but Spider-Man is always dealing with a different conflict in those movies, and those movies are written well, they have good dialogue, and the characters are actually interesting. So keep that in mind. Insomniac needs to go wild for the third game. Do something insane that has never been done before, and innovate like you once did. Put some life into this franchise that's been missing since the first release. I hope they can do this because they really wrote themselves into a corner for the third game with Miles Morales. He's really become his own character outside of the video games, and it took a bit, but he found his own footing after somebody competent started writing him. I mean, imagine being Miles, seeing Peter come back to life, insult you, and calls you the fake Spider-Man. Now, how did Marvel expect this guy to succeed when they set him up for failure? Well, you should also ask that question to Insomniac. Insomniac has given Miles zero personality. He honestly is just Peter Parker number 2, and his inclusion in the second game feels like he's just there to be there instead of having an actual connection and purpose to the story. Now, while I like the arc that he had with Mr. Negative, and that was probably the only time I've ever seen Miles have any type of life or any type of personality within the video games, but it was really short, and it was a story that could have been its own thing, but instead, Insomniac decided to put it as a kind of afterthought throughout the entire narrative in the entire game, and Miles really doesn't take what he learns from that little arc that he had into the main story. Now, I think Miles Morales is a fantastic character, but let's be honest here. Does he have any interaction with Norman Osborn and Dr. Octopus, who are the main villains of the third game? No, not at all. How do they expect to make Miles his own character when he's facing Peter's villain that he has no connection to whatsoever? In fact, he didn't even really have a connection with Harry in the second game. Insomniac is literally wasting this character who has all the potential in the entire world when it comes to the story and gameplay. This is a character who only has 14 years of comic book history. That is a lot of room for new stories and ideas that could be original to this game. But say they decide to take the easy way out and just make him Peter number 2. I'm sorry for that Miles rant, but I just really like this character, and it just sucks to see him be wasted in this type of way. I think there's so much you can do with him, especially with the powers that he has and the background that he has as well. And anyways, that was the video. So stay halal, guys, and I'll see you later.